Not sure if you realize, but women's college basketball is getting closer and closer. It is less than 100 days, 93 days by my math, away. And to help preview it in this video, we are going to do something called stock up, stock down, or buy now. And yes, this is just an easy way to see who crushed it last season, who underperformed, and who might break through in the 24-25 season. Before we start, if you enjoyed the content, then please consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a like. All right, let's get into this. So stock up. Now, I'm not an investor genius, but these are the Amazons, Apples, Microsoft, Netflix, Berkshire Hathaway. You get the idea. These are the stocks that everybody knows is good and you would have to pay to get because their value is so high. So obviously the first one is South Carolina. They have gone the last 3 years undefeated during the regular season, and they have gotten the chip the last 2 out of 3 years, which was big for them. I don't know if you saw after Iowa beat UConn in the Final Four. Gino Auriemma was asked about the expectations at UConn, and he said,
"We put that on ourselves now for the last 30 years. What pisses me off is that the minute we don't win a national championship for a couple of years, people think that our program now is less worthy of some others that have done it twice or have gone to the Final Four 3 out of the last 4 years."
Now, whether intentional or not, that was the narrative that would have happened if South Carolina would not have won the chip in 23-24. But now that they have won the chip that year, they now have 2 out of the 3 national championships in the last 3 years. Combine that they dominate recruiting and have their choice of players, of who they want, bring the players in and compete. And if it doesn't work out, then yeah, you could just transfer out of here. That is why their stock is number 1, and you would have to pay a premium value to buy the South Carolina stock at the moment. Now, number 2, funny enough, is UConn in my mind, and here's why. They have the pedigree. They have done it all those years with all the previous national championships, and even though they were decimated once again last year with injuries, they still proved that if you do it the UConn way, you can get to a national championship and be in the mix because they play it the right way. They bring in stars that play hard, adhere to the culture, and if we could have one damn season where we were healthy, we will win the national championship. If UConn could be healthy at the end of the year, one of the most compelling games will be the matchup between UConn and South Carolina on the 16th of February in Columbia, as it is a lot like Microsoft squaring off with Apple. Now, number 3, I have University of Southern Cal. They brought in one of the best freshmen last year with Juju Watkins, and she lived up to expectations, just missing out on the Final Four. They've got a great coach and Lindsay Gottlieb. To combine that, they'll have the number 1 recruiting class coming in, which is highlighted by Kennedy Smith, and combined with their portal moves, bringing in Talia von Oelhoffen and Kiki Arioffen, things are looking mighty nice for USC. The number 3 stock is Notre Dame, as Niele Ivey has taken over from Muffet McGraw and has just run with the program. It looked like after they got smashed by South Carolina in the opening game in Paris, it had the potential to be a long season, having a rookie point guard try to lead them, but it worked out quite well as Hannah Hidalgo lived up to all expectations, hence why I said Juju Watkins was one of the best freshmen in the 23-24 season, as I think she and Juju Watkins should have been co-freshman of the year in my opinion. Leave your hate comments below. Now with Olivia Miles coming back from her knee injury, they have potentially the best backcourt in college basketball if it works out. Can Olivia Miles and Hannah Hidalgo share the ball enough with each other? I think they're 2 great players and it will work out, but it will be interesting to watch. But things are definitely looking up for Notre Dame, and they are a program on the rise. And much in the same way for Texas, as after they destroyed UConn, it seemed like they were almost a certainty to make it to the Final Four. But then Roy Harmon suffered her ACL injury, which was devastating, but it allowed Madison Booker room to flourish, and my God, did she flourish. She can handle the ball, shoot, and get to the basket, and she's on Vic Schaefer's team, so she will play defense. With Roy Harmon back, Texas looks very impressive. As well, the move to the SEC will only toughen them up for tournament time, as I am sure you you are aware, the last 3 champions have come from the SEC. Now, the last stock up is not a team, but a player, and that would be Paige Bueckers. As last year, she did 2 things. One, she proved that she could be healthy the entire season. Second, she re-established herself as one of the best players in women's college basketball, and she is clearly the best player going into 24-25, as she is dominant, efficient, and inclusive, making everybody else on her team better. Corporate America has doubled down on her, giving her her own Nike shoe, and it's pretty clear one of the biggest storylines of the 24-25 season will be, can Paige Bueckers win a national championship? And her stock is up right now as she's healthy and UConn's healthy, and that will be the storyline going into 24-25. Now let's take a look at stock down. So who is down? And the other question is, should you hold on to it or just sell it at a loss? Now, the stock or team that collapsed the most after the 23-24 season, I think it's pretty obvious. They had the biggest fall since SMU and their scandal in the 80s. Yes, I would put down Oregon State. But unlike SMU, this was not their fault, as they were a victim of conference realignment, and when the music stopped playing, Oregon State and Washington State were without a chair to sit in. Devastating to both programs, but Oregon State was the feel-good team last year after Kiki Arioffen hit that shot to beat UCLA after Regan Beers got knocked out of that game. And then they followed that up with a good tournament run, taking out Notre Dame before going down to South Carolina. But then it was like a corporate raider took over their company and just sold off all the parts. Talia Van Olhoffen going to USC, Gardner going to UCLA, and Regan Beers going to Oklahoma. And no doubt, Coach CEO Scott Rueck is looking around and going, what the heck happened? In terms of buy or sell, I think it's pretty obvious you want to sell. There's one slight draw to hold on to this stock. The hope is further conference realignment is going to happen, and maybe they could get a chair at the Big 12. And if that happens, then you still have a great coach in Scott Rueck for now. Right behind Oregon State is Oregon. Now, they got a chair at the table at the Big 10, but Kelly Graves, have no doubt he is on the hot seat. Prior to COVID in 2020, this program was on the rise and fast with talent of Sabrina Ionescu, Satu Sabli. And then after the tournament was canceled in 2020, it has just been a slow slide. With last season being a virtual collapse, they went 11-21 and 2-16 in the Pac-12. I remember one of the games where Graves was interviewed at halftime, and it was a benign question. What do you need to do, or what are the mistakes you're making with turning over the ball? And he went after the reporter a little bit, just saying, have you watched our games all season? This is the same problem we have. And you could just tell that he was a coach on the edge. Not surprisingly, 4 players left via the portal, which is highlighted by Chance Gray, who went to Ohio State, and Grace Van Sluten, who went to Michigan State. But the portal taketh and the portal giveth, and he is trying to rebuild via the portal, signing 6'4" forward Amina Muhammad from Texas, also getting point guard Nana Falatea from BYU, and Deasia Kelly from North Carolina. So the buying and selling of this stock is unclear. Is this a coach in a pro sport where they have that desperate trade to try to bring players in and free agents and see if anything will work? Or is Oregon's fall unstoppable, new players, new conference, and it will just be an ongoing mess until they reset it with a new coach? To be determined. Another faller from the Pac-12 last season was Stanford. They rebounded well after losing Sienna Betts to the portal, but the season at the end sort of sputtered as they got knocked out early from the NCAA tournament, and then Tara Vanderveer decided to retire, followed by Kiki Arioffen going to the portal, which leaves them very vulnerable and undermanned going into the ACC. However, I am optimistic that Stanford can rebound. They've already signed 2 good recruits for the 25 season, not to mention Kate Pay, who's taking over from Vanderveer, longtime Stanford assistant, so there is good potential for them to rebound, and they seem a good fit for the ACC. So I would hold on to that stock. The next stock I am going to combine, it is Haley Van Lith and Louisville, as they both struggled in the 23-24 season. After Haley Van Lith transferred, I did a video on who would win the breakup, Louisville and Jeff Walls or Haley Van Lith. I think it's pretty clear neither of them won. They were both losers last season. Louisville, after 5 years of reaching the Elite Eight, they got knocked out in the first game of the tournament, which was the first time that happened since 2006. If you watched the press conference after the Louisville loss, it was interesting. Walls was like, we're going to go back to doing things my way.
You know, we have had a ton of success here in postseason play, and this is not what we're used to. I'll take the responsibility for that. I mean, I've got to get back to doing things the way, you know, I've done them in the past. I've got to challenge them more. I've got to get them in shape. I've got to demand things, demand more from them. Every practice can't be comfortable. It's got to be uncomfortable. So then when you get in the games, no matter how hard it goes, you've experienced all of that in practice. So I've got to get back to just taking some things over and really challenging them and pushing them. So that's my fault.
It sounded like he tried to be a player's coach and it failed, and it just does not suit him well. And I wonder if he was just trying to do that little bit of a balance or trying to introduce that new thing of, hey, I'm a player's coach because I need to keep these guys because they can transfer out, versus being the tough coach. And I wonder how that line is going to go. But if I was an investor, I would hold on to this stock as he has a long track record of winning, and I suspect they will figure it out at Louisville. Haley Van Lith transferred to the reigning national champions and put a big target on her back, doing an interview with Taylor Rooks where she declared she was a point guard.
I do have point guard skills. A lot of people are like, oh, she's not a point guard. Oh, she doesn't shoot. And that's a lie. Okay, I'm gonna come here and stand on 2 feet and tell everybody right now that's a lie. It's about what opportunity I've been given, and I think at LSU I'll be given an opportunity to play point and show that I can run a team.
And the whole year just went really bad for her as she got memed for not understanding a play in the huddle, it appeared, then benched at the start of the second half in the tournament, and then followed up by getting torched by Caitlin Clark in the Elite Eight and being the fall guy for all of LSU's problems. She is subsequently transferred out and is going to try to rebuild her reputation at TCU. I think at TCU there is a good chance that she can return to her previous form that she had at Louisville, which is essentially a 15 to 20 point per game score that shoots around 46% per game. But even if she does rebound, I think she's already lost quite a lot, as she went on a big stage to prove that she could be point guard and she lost that gamble. And even if she recovers, it'll be qualified with, well, she's doing it in a weaker conference, and when she was going in the best conference in the country, the SEC, she could not deliver. Now let's talk about the stock that you should buy. So number one is Malaysia Fulwiley of South Carolina. To me, it's quite clear she is as elite as Juju Watkins and Hannah Hidalgo. However, her opportunity has been limited by the depth of South Carolina. Dawn Staley says she is a generational type player, and who am I to argue with Dawn? As well as telling, Dawn Staley gave an off-season radio interview where she said that when Fulwiley came in, she was just looking to blend in and see where she fit in and just try to get minutes. And then when she spoke to her after the season, Malaysia said her goal was to fight for a starting job in 24-25.
You know, what they want to do personally. Like, I asked her, like, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to do? What are your plans for next year? What are some of the things that you want to get better at? And she said, you know what? She said, when I came in, I just kind of just wanted to fit in and just get the information that I needed. So I didn't really challenge to be a starter. So I was like, okay, so you gonna challenge to be a starter? She was like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna challenge myself, and I'm gonna challenge my teammates to be a starter.
She also mentioned about how Fulwiley would get gassed after going up the court up and down a few times, and says that she's really going to lock in with her conditioning. So a fully conditioned, locked in Fulwiley could be deadly. Now, I am still not sure if she will start in the 24-25 season, as Dawn Staley tends to give preferential treatment to senior classmen, but will she force her way in there? And even if she doesn't, she'll still be devastating when she comes in on the floor during her time like she was her freshman year, and then she's just totally set up for her junior and senior years to dominate women's college basketball and go into the WNBA draft as either the number 1 or number 2 pick behind Juju Watkins. To me, Fulwiley looks like Kennedy Carter with a shot, and that combination will be truly devastating in the WNBA. Number 2, I have Oklahoma. This program seems to be on the rise. It's a big step going from the Big 12 to the SEC. I am curious to see if the SEC struggles with their offense and how they have 5 scorers on the floor, or if it turns out Oklahoma struggles with the physicality of the SEC. But one thing's for sure, Jenny Baranczyk has the program on the rise, with the latest proof being the portal signing of Regan Beers. They are also in the running for Aaliyah Chavez, the number 1 recruit in 2025, so things are looking up for Oklahoma. Not to mention the last few years, they have battled Texas, who seemingly had more talent, and they have won that battle, coming away with the last 2 conference championships. Another program on the rise is Duke with Kara Lawson. She recruits well and is always in the mix for all the top players. As well, she's winning with the recruits, having a breakthrough, beating Ohio State at Ohio State in the second round to make the Sweet 16. So it seems to me like a program on the rise and one that you would want to invest in now. And in much the same way, another stock that's an up-and-comer potentially is Kentucky. They've got Kenny Brooks there, who knows how to build programs. It appears Kentucky wants to put money into the program. If you want to hear about this, watch my latest video that I did on Kentucky. You would think with his track record over the next 4 or 5 years, they might have a chance to be a power in the SEC. Now, the final stock that I would buy in, and actually it is the top stock that I would buy in, would be women's college basketball. I think some feel that there will be a drop-off to Caitlin Clark moving on to the WNBA, but I disagree. I support the WNBA. I like watching it, but the college game is just more perfect than the WNBA, and that is no slight on the WNBA. It's the same thing with the NBA. It is just a flawed league that's basically riddled by too many games, the WNBA, and then they have series that are 7 games or 5 games, and usually you know what the outcome is. Which makes the college game so perfect is you have these interconference battles throughout the season that mean something, that then finish off with a tournament battle to make the big prize to get to the tournament, and then it turns into one and done big tournament, which is fantastic. And you just cannot beat that model. There's no setup that a pro league can do to beat that. The only thing that's near close is the NFL. And the reason that the NFL is so great is because their regular season, 17 games. Every game is do or die. And then they go into the playoffs and it's 1 game and you're out. And it's almost the same way in college basketball. The regular season means something, as you want to be able to get that first 2 rounds played on your home court. And then knockout basketball is just fantastic and cannot be beat, the do and die nature of the NCAA tournament. So I think despite Caitlin Clark leaving college basketball, views will continue to rise and the game will continue to grow. Now it's over to you. What did we get right? What did we get wrong? Your poison, your feedback, it's always welcome. Thanks a lot for watching.